Thanks everybody for joining us here today. We have Grace Berger and Nicole Cardano-Hillary from IU. A couple reminders before we start. Please make sure cell phones are turned off and flash photography is not permitted. Also want to introduce Megan Cromper, the Indiana SID, who's in the room if you need anything. And with that, we will open it up to questions.
Coach said that you might you might have days off during the week once you find out when you're going to play. So what's the practice schedule looked like, and have you had those days off? And how's everyone feeling before the game tomorrow?
Yeah, we had a couple days off after the Big Ten tournament. Get some much needed rest, kind of a mental break and physical break, obviously. And then once we found out who we played, we had a couple practices after that to kind of scout them and get some initial things done. And then we got a day off on Wednesday. And then so we felt good. We had a good practice yesterday, watched a lot of film, and we're going to have another good one today. And we feel rested and we feel ready to go.
Please, as a note, before you ask your question, please say your name and media outlet.
My name's Matt Seavery, Indiana Daily student. You guys have, towards the end of the season, regular season, and then obviously the Big Ten tournament, you guys had a lot of games and not a lot of days, and it seems like that, just heavy play load, heavy time played in games, culminated and, wore down. How has being able to get that rest prepared you, I guess, going forwards, looking ahead to having to play a bunch of games in not a lot of days again?
I think, like Grace said, being able to have had those couple days off and also been able to focus on us as well and not just so much like the opponent, I think that definitely helps. And but I know that we're all ready to get back out on the court and play our hearts out. So I think that's, the rest is nice, but we're also ready to get going again.
Addie Miners, WLKY. Talk about the matchup for tomorrow. How do you guys think you all match up against the competition?
We know they're a really, talented team. They have the Conference Player of the Year on their team, and they have a lot of really good dynamic guards, so I think it's going to challenge us specifically as guards to really guard them off the bounce. They're athletic, they're quick, so it'll be a good challenge for us. We know they're a really good team. They run a lot of good sets, so and they have a lot of Power 5 transfers, so they've been here before. They're not scared to play us or anything like that. So, we're just going to have to come and I think really focus on the defensive end, stopping their action and keeping their guards from getting all the way to the rim.
Additional questions for those three athletes?
Seth Tao at the Herald Times. For either of you, I guess, how much is last year's run to the Elite Eight going to help you as you start off tournament play now?
I think having the experience that we have, just also being a veteran team, is very helpful, and getting to where we got last year is as well helpful. But I think that, not only just last year, but what we've dealt with this year as well, as in, like you said before, having so many games and not that many days is just really prepared us to kind of keep our heads down and do what we do. And I think, like I said, having a veteran team also helps a lot.
Do you have another? No. We have a question on Zoom that we're going to take here. James K.
James K. The next. This is for either of you. How important was it to get as far as you did in the Big Ten Conference tournament? After, again, at the end of the regular season, it was a little bit up and down. How important was it to just reinvigorate yourselves, I guess, having gone so far in the conference tournament, to get back to playing Indiana basketball?
I think it was good in the sense that, we beat several of the top teams in the country, top 15, top 10 teams. So we, certainly proved to ourselves, not that we didn't already know, but we did go on a little losing streak to end the year. So I think just proving to ourselves that we belong in that conversation with those teams and that we can compete with anybody in the country. But at the end of the day, we also didn't, finish our goal at the Big Ten tournament, and we still fell short. So I think we learned a lot of really good things, more so from that loss than in the wins, and just what we need to get better at, so that next time when we face a really good team like Iowa, hopefully we'll be better prepared and can come out on top.
We'll go back to Seth.
You mentioned all the adversity and things that you faced throughout the season, and obviously one of the biggest hurdles you faced was Mackenzie getting hurt. In those couple months that you were without her, how important was Alexa and her role on the team in making up the production that you didn't have for Mac?
I think Alexa's role on the team is incredible and very important every season, every year, every game. I just think more people noticed her in that sense because of Mackenzie being out, but I think Lex is such a huge part of our team, and she brings in so much energy, offensive and defensively. And, like I said, I just think more people have noticed she's kind of one of those players that does the little things every time, and maybe it doesn't show up on the stat sheet, but without her, we'd be a very different team. So, yeah, I think obviously, Mac being out was kind of like this hurdle that we had to get over, but I also think in a sense it kind of showed people how important everyone else on the team is, even the bench coming in. But yeah, like I said, Alexa has always been such an important player and such a big part of our team.
Additional questions for the student athletes? Seeing none. Couple reminders here. A recording of this press conference will be available in the NCAA Digital Hub at https://ncaaveritone.com. Transcripts are provided by ASAP and will be posted shortly. And if there's nothing else, we thank the student athletes for joining us, and Indiana head coach Terry Morin will be up next. Thank you. Okay, we are back, and we are pleased to be joined now by Indiana head coach Terry Morin. And Coach, if you want to start with an opening statement, and then we'll take questions.
Well, it's the best time of the year, as you guys know, and we're excited, first and foremost, to host such a terrific tournament. And this is historic for our program here at Indiana. And we look forward to, having a great weekend, growing our women's basketball game with 4 terrific teams. And for the Hoosiers, it feels like there was a moment there where it seemed like all we were doing was playing, practicing, traveling, playing, and so forth. So it's kind of nice to have a little bit of a break after the Big Ten tournament and once again hit the reset button and look forward to a new season here in the NCAA tournament.
Thank you, Coach. We'll open it up to questions now. Reminder, please state your name and media outlet and raise your hand, and we will get going.
Seth Tao, Herald Times. As you've dove into Charlotte game planning specifically, I guess what are you looking for in this matchup, and what are some of the keys specific to this matchup going to be?
Well, we liken this team a lot to Ohio State in the Big Ten in terms of they're very guard-oriented. Have some transfers also on the roster, have the player of the year in the conference, of course, in Jet Wilson. So a terrific guard-oriented basketball team that's going to challenge us specifically off the bounce. They're going to challenge us in transition. And so, we have to be really good on that end, but we also have to take advantage, we think, offensively of our size going into this matchup.
Questions for Coach?
Matt Seabree, IDS. You mentioned how this is best time of the year, March Madness. Obviously, anything can happen at any game. How do you avoid being one of those early round upsets early on here?
Yeah, I don't know that our kids, obviously if you're a basketball player, you're paying attention to our men's, what's going on right now with all the upsets that happened yesterday on the men's side. And so before we watched film, just in talking with our guys, the message was, this is the best time of the year, but it's also a brand new tournament, and seeding doesn't matter. You throw that out the window. And if you're paying attention yesterday to what was happening on the men's side, that obviously was true, with some of the higher seeds getting beat. So we don't worry about that. Right now we're just worried about the Charlotte 49ers being in here. And our sole focus all week has been, just like it always has been, the one-game mentality, what's ahead of us. And we're just looking forward to being back on the floor tomorrow.
We'll go in the second row there.
Addie Miners at WLKY. Talk about the experience that this team brings after making that deep run last year in the tournament.
Well, yeah, obviously I don't think it's a secret to anybody that, we're experienced. We have a veteran group. I think Allie Patberg's the only 2 of, 7-year players that have had this opportunity. And so we're led by a super senior in Allie. Yeah, I think the experience in San Antonio was really good for us. It obviously gave us some experience. I think one of the things that happened was we understand the magnitude and the importance of every game. And the first game, as I've always said, in tournament play is the most important because it can give you momentum going into the second and the third round and so forth. And so I think our kids understand that, but they understand it because they've lived it, they've gone through it, they've experienced it. Our leadership that we have in that locker room has been incredible throughout the season. I think we've had to go through some adversity, but I think it's only made this group stronger and more connected. And so I think, you're going to see a team tomorrow that plays with a tremendous amount of enthusiasm, love for one another, and they're certainly connected. And I think that has a lot to do with the fact that they're old.
Go first
Indiana Daily student. You've talked about obviously having a crowd here. Now you're going to get to play in front of them in an NCAA tournament game. But where do you kind of draw the line between, soaking in the crowd and the environment and also focusing on what's on the court and telling your players to, focus on the game?
Well, the great thing is we've been sort of spoiled all year, with great crowds in the hall. And, we've had some from Kentucky to NC State, so to all the terrific teams in the Big, that have been big games for us. Hoosier Nation has continued to turn out for us. And so, I don't know that our kids will be caught up in that. I think that they're more caught up in the fact that, or looking forward to the energy that'll be in the building. And that's what they talk about, whether they're talking to a recruit's parents, they're talking amongst each other. It's just the energy that's always in the building each night that we've played. And I think because of the success that we've had, starting, when we did win the NIT championship, when we were gaining more fans, our fan base has grown since we've been here. And I think it's more of just an excitement that, we know what to expect now because of the crowds that have been in here.
Terry, Mike Merritt from Associated Press. When you talk about the NIT championship, the growing crowds, the historic nature of having games here, what is the significance of having the games here, and what does that do for your program?
Well, I think the significance is in our second year when, we were sent to Notre Dame, and where they were hosting the first round and, beat a really good Georgia team, but then got into the final game against Notre Dame. And there's clearly a home court advantage, when you have the opportunity to host, and that's what we have here. And so that's one of the things we're looking forward to. Yeah, I think, again, we've had a lot of historic moments since we've been here in our 8 years at Indiana. It's just another thing that we can add, to what we're building here, what we've been able to accomplish, understanding that, our job is still far from being complete in terms of what we want to do here and accomplish here. But like I said, I think it's just another thing for us to be able to say in the recruiting process, especially that we're checking off a lot of things that we said that we wanted to accomplish, but yet humbly knowing that we still have a lot of work to do.
She may not get all the accolades that players like Grace or Max sometimes get, but I guess how important of a role does Alexa play on this team, and how mentally tough has she had to be, I guess, to thrive so far from home?
Well, first of all, you're absolutely right. She should have been on the all-defensive team when the Big Ten honors came out. She was on the second team, which was great, all conference. But she's so terrific. The things that she does, and Seth, you've heard me say this before, don't show up on the stat sheets. They never do. In terms of how integral, how important she is for us defensively, in terms of our rotations, and in terms of being able to switch ball screens, her ability to protect the rim, her ability to alter shots, and then offensively, her ability to stretch you out, knock down shots. This has certainly been her breakout year for her in terms of her productivity on the offensive side of the ball. And so it may not, she may not get the accolades, from media and outside people, but, she's certainly been, I don't know if MVP for us is the right term, but right up there with, she's been so significant this season in particular to why we've had the success that we've had. And I wish I could keep her around another year. I just don't know that we're going to have the ability to do that.
We've got a couple questions on Zoom that we're going to take, starting with Haley Jordan. Haley, if you want to come on now and ask your question.
Hi, Coach. Haley Jordan, Sports Illustrated. A follow-up from earlier about Allie's leadership. She's been a part of 5 NCAA tournaments in some shape or form, even at Notre Dame. How valuable is her leadership and just her postseason knowledge, and how is that going to carry you throughout the tournament?
Well, I hope it'll carry us far. As I mentioned, as good of a player that Allie Patberg is, she's even a better person, better teammate, and I think that's what makes her so special. Is she truly believes in relationships, not only with me and our staff, but also with her teammates, and I think that's what separates her from some of the best leaders. She walks the walk and she talks the talk, and it's by example and the work that she does outside of practice, but it's also in how she pours in to her teammates, in the locker room, on the floor, when they need encouragement, they need challenged. She's been so terrific, in that space for our players. And so it's going to be really important, but it'll be also important that Grace Berger shows her leadership, and Nikki shows some leadership, and Lex. All of them at some point are going to have the opportunity to step up and be leaders this weekend.
We're going to take another question on Zoom from James K. James, if you'd like to ask your question.
Hey, Coach. James K. from The Next. Just coming off of the Big Ten tournament, it did seem like you all were able to get things back on track despite the final result, obviously. But is there anything that you're hoping that the team takes from that tournament and bring it over to the NCAA tournament?
Well, I hope we continue to play as well as we did in that tournament. I think coming into it, we knew that we hadn't faced Rutgers in 2 years. And so that was going to be a tall test for us, because normally you've had at least the opportunity to see a Big Ten opponent at some point during the season, and we didn't have that. So that was a challenge that we stepped up to, and then obviously beating Maryland and then Ohio State, just playing really good basketball. Yes, we didn't finish the job against Iowa, and we could chalk that up. Iowa's terrific, but I think maybe fatigue set in a little bit for us in that 4th game. We're not about excuses, but I think we learned that we have to be able to approach every game, and especially in this tournament. We understand that, and it was a lot like the Big Ten tournament. You don't get past the first one, you go home, you're done. So we understand the significance of tournament play, whether it's in the Big Ten or NCAA. But my hope for our group is that we continue to play good basketball, and that's certainly what we did last week in Indianapolis.
Any other questions for Coach Morton?
Thank you, guys.
Seeing none, thank you. Reminder, Indiana's practice starting at 11:30 will be open for the first 15 minutes for media.